Regina gave her heart to a man who gave her insults in return. He said she was too fat to be loved, too big to be desired, and too useless to be taken seriously. But life had plans, and Regina, she had Daniel, discipline, and a dangerous new waistline. This is the story of how she turned heartbreak into a glow-up that shut her enemy's mouth with class. There was a time Regina believed love meant sacrifice. She believed that if you truly loved someone, you would accept their flaws, stay loyal through the hard seasons, and never stop trying. That was the version of love she brought into her relationship with Henry. Henry, on the other hand, had his own version. His love came with conditions, spoken and unspoken. And Regina, without realizing it, was slowly breaking under the weight of trying to meet them. She had always been plus-sized, not unhealthy, just soft around the edges, full cheeks, rounded arms, a generous figure. But with Henry, her body was constantly under scrutiny. It started subtly. "You would look prettier if you lost just a little weight," Henry said one afternoon while scrolling through his phone. Regina laughed, unsure if it was a compliment or not. "I mean it," he added. "You have potential, but right now, you look like a woman who finished 3 plates of rice." It became worse as the months passed. At his house, he treated her like a tolerated visitor. When she sat beside him on the couch, he would sigh and say, "You are taking up so much space. Can't you sit properly?" He once stopped her from joining him in the kitchen, saying, "If you stand here with me, there won't be room for the two of us." Regina laughed sometimes, but her laughter came from confusion, not humor. There was the evening she surprised him with a home-cooked meal after work. She spent hours in the kitchen. Henry barely looked at the food before muttering, "You didn't have to cook now. You clearly ate enough already. And that means the food items I bought to last me for the month has gone down drastically." Regina ate alone that night while he played video games. In public, he was worse. One day at a restaurant, a waiter asked if they were celebrating anything special. Regina smiled and said that it was their anniversary. Henry laughed and responded, "She dragged me here. If I say no to food, she might break my head." The people at the next table laughed. Regina smiled too, but her eyes remained fixed on her glass. The joke was about her again. At his friend's birthday party, someone took a photo of the couple. When it was shown to Henry, he chuckled and said loudly, "Bro, I have to zoom in on my face to see myself because she's occupying 80% of the frame." Laughter erupted. Regina stood there, frozen, wishing the ground would open and swallow her. But she didn't leave. She stayed because for years, she believed Henry was the only man who saw her, the only one who chose her despite her weight. She clung to him, convinced that if she worked harder, loved harder, he would one day respect her. Instead, he became colder. Henry stopped introducing Regina to people as his girlfriend. When friends asked if they were still together, he would shrug and say, "She's around, still pestering my life and occupying space." Then one day, he didn't even bother to come home. He called her on the phone. The tone of his voice was flat, almost irritated. "Regina, I think we need to end this. I've tried, but honestly, I don't see this going anywhere. You are not improving, and I need something better, someone more presentable." Regina didn't speak. She just listened as he ended 3 years of relationship with the ease of turning off a switch. When he hung up, Her world didn't shatter instantly. It cracked slowly in silence. She quietly moved back into her apartment. For days, she didn't leave her apartment. She avoided calls and stopped replying to messages. She ate without testing. She cried without understanding why. The memories came in waves. Every insult, every careless word, every moment she swallowed her dignity to keep the relationship. Then came the doctor's visit. She had been feeling faint often, struggling with her breath when climbing stairs. The doctor examined her and delivered the verdict with calm urgency. Regina, your body is under strain. If you want to live a long, healthy life, you need to make lifestyle changes, starting with your weight. The words weren't cruel. They were clinically measured, but they hurt more than Henry's insults because this time it was her body threatening to abandon her. That evening, Regina stood in front of her mirror. She touched her cheeks, her arms, her belly, not with hate, but with sorrow. She didn't recognize the woman staring back at her, and for the first time in years, she whispered to her reflection, "You deserve better than this, even from yourself." The next day, she signed up for a gym, not out of confidence, but desperation. Her health, her future, her sense of worth, everything felt like it was slipping away. She walked into the gym with trembling hands, unsure if she would last a week. She didn't know she was about to meet someone who would change her life forever. But for now, all she had was pain, regret, and a body full of silent shame. Regina's first day at the gym was like a punishment wrapped in noise. The loud music, the clinking weights, the scent of sweat and menthol balm, it all overwhelmed her. She stood by the door for nearly 5 minutes, watching people move like machines. Everyone seemed to know what they were doing. Everyone looked fit, lean, confident. She, on the other hand, wore leggings that threatened to roll down with every breath and a t-shirt that clung to her body in the wrong places. She wanted to turn around and leave, but something inside whispered, "You have already been invincible long enough." She took a deep breath and stepped in. The first few days were brutal. Every step on the treadmill felt like a personal attack. Her knees screamed, her back ached, her breath was short, and her self-esteem shorter. People didn't laugh at her, but their glances stung. Some smiled politely, others avoided her eyes entirely, the way people do when they see something uncomfortable but don't know what to say. By the 5th day, she was ready to quit. She sat on a bench outside the gym, wiping sweat from her forehead with a small towel that was doing its best but had long surrendered. Her water bottle was empty. Her heart felt the same. Then she heard a voice. "Don't quit today. You already survived yesterday. That's progress." She looked up and saw a tall, broad-shouldered man dressed in a navy blue gym shirt and black joggers. Sweat glistened on his temples, but what struck her wasn't his fitness. It was his eyes, kind, curious, and calm. "I'm sorry," she asked. "I noticed you've been showing up. That's more than most people do," the man said with a smile. "I remember my first week here. I nearly passed out trying to impress the mirror." Regina let out a small laugh, unsure if it was okay to laugh at all. "I'm Daniel," he said, sitting a few inches from her on the bench, not too close, not too far. "Regina," she replied softly. There was a brief pause, not awkward, just quiet and peaceful. "I used to be overweight too," Daniel said. Not that it matters to everyone, but it mattered to me. I didn't like the way I felt, the way I looked at myself. It took time, a lot of failing, but eventually I found a rhythm. Regina looked at him, surprised. You don't look like someone who ever struggled. Most people don't, he replied. But we all carry something. Mine just showed on the outside for a while. Something about his tone made her believe him. He wasn't talking to impress. He wasn't trying to give a motivational speech. He was just present. They sat there a little longer, talking about nothing in particular. The heat, the weather, the way gym music always sounded like a nightclub in the stress. Before she left, he said, "Try again tomorrow, but take it slow. Walk if you can't run. Stretch if you can't lift. Just move." Regina nodded, unsure why she wanted to cry at those simple words. The next day, he was there again, waiting by the treadmill, smiling. He didn't push her. He walked beside her, matched her pace, celebrated her small victories. When she completed her first full session without pausing, Daniel clapped softly and said, "That's strength, right there." When she slipped on the gym mat and nearly fell, he helped her up without laughing. No jokes, no shame, just quiet encouragement. Day by day, something began to shift, not just in her body, but in her mind. The voice in her head, once filled with Henry's cruel words, was starting to sound different, kinder, steadier. Sometimes it even sounded like Daniel. They began working out together, not every day, but often enough. He invited her to try outdoor walks on weekends. At first, she hesitated. She didn't want to be seen struggling in public again. But he said gently, "No one is watching you like that. People are too busy trying to survive their own lives." So she joined him. One Saturday, as they walked up a quiet hill road just outside the city, Regina found herself talking. Really talking. She told him about Henry, about the insults, the shame, the way she began to see herself through his eyes. Daniel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he said, "The worst thing about cruel people is how they leave us to clean up the mess they made. But the best thing about healing is that it's ours, not theirs." Regina didn't respond right away, but she smiled, a real smile. She didn't know where this journey was going, but the first time in a long time, she wasn't walking it alone. Regina's journey into regaining her self-esteem was slow, awkward, and filled with setbacks. There were mornings she woke up with aching knees and a heart that questioned everything. Days she stood in front of the mirror, poking at her stomach, wondering if anything was changing. But then, one morning, months into her journey, she looked into that same mirror and blinked. Her face was slimmer, her skin clearer, her eyes brighter. Something about her reflection had shifted, not just physically. There was light, faint but steady. She smiled, not because she was done, but because she could finally see the difference. Regina had been posting short videos online, mostly to track her progress and give little updates. "Today, I walked 2 kilometers without crying." Or she would write, "Gym instructor said I don't look like I will faint today. I'm making progress." She didn't expect people to watch, but they did. And then they shared one video of her trying to skip rope and accidentally hitting herself in the back got over 50,000 views in a week. Not because she looked perfect, but because she laughed at herself and said, "Apparently, The rope is against my personal development. Comments began to pour in. You are inspiring. I started working out because of you. Thank you for being real about the struggle. Regina stared at her phone like it was lying, but the notifications kept coming. By the third month, she had over 100,000 followers. People asked for tips, shared their stories, encouraged her. Some even sent workout gear to her P.O. box with sweet handwritten notes like, "For the woman who made me believe I can start too." And through it all, Daniel remained quietly by her side. He never asked for credit, never tried to stand in the spotlight. He celebrated her victories like they were his own, sometimes with a high five, sometimes with a smoothie, and sometimes with his signature one-liner, "You are moving mountains, one sweaty t-shirt at a time." One afternoon, as they finished a light run in the park, Regina stopped and turned to him. "You know, I'm starting to like who I'm becoming." Daniel gave her a thoughtful look. "I liked you even before you did." She rolled her eyes at him, but her cheeks warmed. Brands started calling. First, it was a local activewear company that offered her a modest endorsement. Then a smoothie brand. Then a well-known fitness app wanted to feature her transformation. Her inbox turned into a colorful market of offers, interviews, and event invitations. She began getting recognized on the street. A woman at the supermarket whispered, "Are you Regina from Instagram?" and hugged her tightly. Another time, a teenager stopped her in traffic just to shout, "I love you, Regina," before dashing off. Regina was stunned. She wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't a model. She was just a woman who had once sat in silence, afraid to take up space. But now, she walked into rooms with her head held high. Her shoulders weren't hunched in shame anymore. Her clothes fit better, sure, but it was her spirit that had truly changed. One evening, standing in front of her full-length mirror after a shower, Regina did something she hadn't done in years. She looked at her reflection, every curve, every scar, every inch, and said out loud, "You are beautiful." There was no audience, no camera, no filter, just her and a long overdue moment of acceptance. But as life often does, just when she was beginning to embrace her new chapter, a ghost from the past decided to knock. Henry, Regina's ex, had always believed two things about life. One, that he was irresistible. Two, that Regina would never do better than him. So imagine his confusion one day while he was scrolling through Instagram, only to see a video of a woman that looked vaguely familiar, except this one was glowing, fit, laughing, and giving a TED talk in workout clothes. He squinted. "Wait, that's Regina." He zoomed in, then zoomed out, then zoomed in again. No, this can't be the same Regina. Where is the puffiness? Where is the desperate begging energy? Is this Photoshop? He spent the next hour stalking her profile like a man investigating a crime scene. The captions were motivational, the likes in thousands, and the comments full of love, support, and occasional fire emojis even from men. Henry dropped his phone and stared into space. His mind was racing. How did she upgrade without me? And who is this man always walking beside her in jogging videos? Why is he smiling like he has rights? For the first time in his life, Henry experienced what scientists call regretus majorus, also known as "I messed up big time." So he did what all audacious exes do. He texted her, Hey Regina, was just thinking about you. Hope you are okay. You look different. Regina saw the message. She stared at it for 10 full minutes. Then she locked her phone and continued sipping her smoothie, which tasted like blueberry and boundaries. But Henry was determined. He sent another message the next day. I saw your videos online. Wow, you've really transformed. I'm proud of you. Regina ignored it again, but in her heart, she was laughing like a woman who had finally unmuted her self-worth. Days later, Henry took it a step further. He showed up at one of her public events. Regina was on stage, speaking about confidence and body positivity. The crowd loved her. There were cameras, lights, applause. She looked radiant in her deep emerald green jumpsuit, her slicked back, confidence sitting on her shoulders like royalty. And then she saw him, standing at the back, arms folded, wearing the same belt from 2019 and confusion on his face. After the event, he approached her. Regina, he said with that old familiar tone, soft, manipulative, pretending to be gentle tone. She blinked. Henry, you look wow, Henry said. Honestly, I didn't recognize you. You've become a real star. Regina smiled, not the nervous one from years ago, but the calm, slow smile of a woman who had healed. Thank you. Life has a funny way of revealing who we really are. Henry chuckled awkwardly. I've missed talking to you. Maybe we could... Regina raised a hand gently. Henry, I think what you're feeling is not love. It's shock. You are shocked that I didn't drown after you pushed me into the sea. He blinked. No, But I swam, she continued softly. And I met someone who taught me how to float. Now I don't just survive, I shine. Henry stood there, deflated, like puff puff without yeast. Anyway, Regina added, adjusting her clutch purse. I should go. There are people waiting to celebrate me. You know, the thing you said would never happen. Then she leaned in slightly and whispered, next time, treat the woman in your life like someone with potential, not a project. She walked away with grace, her heels clicking like judgment, her perfume leaving behind a scent called closure. Henry stood there, blinking like a Wi-Fi light during NEPA outage. All his confidence had evaporated. For the first time, he was the one not chosen. The night after her event, Regina sat on her balcony wrapped in a light blanket, sipping tea and replaying the day in her mind. The crowd, the lights, the applause, and then Henry's face looking like someone who tried to reapply for a job after burning the office down. She chuckled quietly, but her smile faded into something softer, something deeper. Once upon a time, she would have run back to Henry if he had shown the slightest affection. She would have ignored her own pain just to feel wanted again. But not anymore. Now, the woman sitting in that balcony was a different version of herself. Stronger, wiser, softer, and sure. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Daniel. Hey, how did your talk go? I'm always proud of you. Want some fresh air tomorrow morning? Let's walk and talk, shall we? She replied with a single word. Yes. They met the next morning at their usual walking trail, a quiet road that curved through trees and early sunlight. Regina wore a simple tracksuit, no makeup, just lip balm and peace of mind. Daniel was already waiting, stretching one leg like someone trying to outrun his past. "Ready?" he asked, smiling. They walked in silence for a while, their feet moving in quiet rhythm. The air smelled of dew and new beginnings. Then Regina spoke. "Henry showed up yesterday." Daniel glanced at her but didn't say anything. "He tried to come back," she continued. "He said he was proud of me and wanted to reconnect." "And what did you say?" Daniel asked. Regina looked up, her eyes calm. "I told him I swam." Daniel's smile widened. "Good." They walked a little more, then stopped at a small wooden bench under a tree. Regina sat. Daniel joined her. "I wouldn't be here without you," she said quietly. "You showed me how to take the first step. You waited when I had nothing to offer but sweat and insecurity." Daniel looked at her. "You offered more than that. You offered courage, even when you were scared. That's the strongest kind of love, the one we give ourselves in pieces." She was quiet for a moment, then laughed softly. "I used to think no man would ever love me unless I changed everything about myself." Daniel reached for her hand. "Regina, I don't love you because you changed. I love you because you grew and because you helped me grow too. I had always known you had greatness inside of you." Regina's eyes filled with tears, not from sadness, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time: complete safety. "I think I love you too," she whispered. He leaned forward gently and pressed a kiss to her forehead. No urgency, no performance, just quiet promise. They sat there for a while, hand in hand, heart to heart, two souls that had walked through fire and somehow found each other on the other side. Months later, Regina posted a new video, not about weight loss, not about gym tips. This one was different. She sat in her living room, no background music, no edits, just her giving a small motivational speech that said, "I used to think healing looked like a flat stomach or a smaller dress size, but it doesn't. Healing looks like forgiving yourself, laughing again, saying no to pain dressed as love, and surrounding yourself with people who see your soul, not just your size. And if you are watching this, maybe today is the day you stop shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. You are allowed to take up space beautifully." The video went viral again, not because she was famous, but because she was free and had discovered her true self. And that was the real glow up. Thank you so much for watching this story. Please share with me in the comment section what you think about it. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and also click the notification bell beside it to be notified each time I drop a new video. Until I come your way again soon, stay happy.